everyone. This is Michelle's Musings from her car driving along 494 in Minneapolis. Not in traffic, although big semis all around me. I always wonder where these guys are going. Commerce is happening in the big town of Minneapolis, St. Paul. Driving over the river right now as I speak by the airport. It's always nice they built the airport right next to a big body of water, isn't it? Just in case anything happens. I always think about that. But what I was thinking about before, which I thought I'd share with you guys, is in my long tenure of experience of marketing and PR, all that jazz, I've been learning that there's these social norms or, oh, look what that guy's doing, that must, he's so successful, that must be the right thing to do, and I need to do what he's doing. And it reminded me of even podcasting. Like Tim Ferriss has one of the number one podcasts out there in the world, and his podcasts are like 2 hours long. And I think I've said this before, I'm never listening to a 2-hour podcast ever. That's what works for him and his audience, but doesn't necessarily mean that's what you have to do. Your podcast can be 5 minutes long, your podcast can be 50 minutes long. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever works for you and your audience. And the same thing, I remember a friend of mine did a test where he blogged every day for 30 days. Because I can't even remember who it was. I think Seth Godin blogs every day. And he's like, well, Seth Godin, he's so popular, and, he must be doing it right, so I'm going to blog every day for 30 days and see what happens. And, well, what happened was, of course, you have content that's just crap, that doesn't really add value to anything, which is because you have this rule that you need to blog every day. And I do subscribe to Seth's blog, although I think I might be unsubscribing because it's kind of annoying to have your inbox fill up with his stuff every day, and I don't always get to read it, and then it sits there, and then, like I said, it just fills up my inbox, and that's just annoying. Even though Seth's blog, when I do read his posts, are literally, sometimes they're 5 sentences. I mean, they're like the shortest thing. So he does that on purpose because he knows you don't have time to read his daily blog. So I guess my point is, when you see someone do something and everyone's like, oh, that's the next thing, that's what we have to do. You have to post 5 times a day on social media because this company does it or that person does it. Look, they have 1 million followers, and that's not true. There is no norm of how many times you have to post on social media. For my clients, I try and post once every 24 hours, somewhere in that time period, but also considering within that 24 hours of what is the most popular time that people are on their page, which is usually at night for my clients. So I know some people who tell me, well, I have to post 2 or 3 times a day on my pages because I have to stay in front of them on their news feeds. And, well, that's not really true either, because with the algorithms on Facebook, they might see one of those 3 posts. They might see none of them. There is no rhyme or reason to the algorithms, and no one knows the secret behind them except for the people at Facebook. So just do what works for you. If you only post once a week, I mean, while your growth is going to be slower, I believe you're not being detrimental to your brand or business. It's what you can do. And I always say, do what you can do and that you can do well. If you can only handle Facebook and Instagram, which is what I do for most of my clients, I don't even deal with their Twitter, then that's all you can do. Don't worry about Twitter. Don't worry about Snapchat. Don't worry about YouTube. Get a couple platforms under your belt and get them rolling along well, and if you feel good about it, then add Snapchat or then add YouTube. Each platform has its own rules and mysteries that you have to unravel, so when you have time to dig into that, do it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Don't worry about if your competitors are on all the platforms. They might not be doing it well, and at the same token, it might not be doing them any good. So how did I start this out? I started talking about, I think the message is don't worry about what other people are doing. It's even something that many of you don't know this, but I'm a fitness instructor. I teach bar, and I also teach something called pound. You have to Google what pound is to look that up. But in bar class, I always say to my students, whenever we're doing something that, if we're doing ab work, I always say to them, don't worry, how low to the ground your legs are compared to, the person next to you. Don't worry, or even how low mine are or aren't. When we're doing like low ab work, just worry about how far down to the ground your legs can go, or what you can do and what movement you can make happen. And don't worry about anybody else. This is your class. It's for you. And that's what I say the same thing about social media. Don't worry about anybody else. Don't worry about how long so-and-so's podcast is. Don't worry about how many times so-and-so posts on their Facebook page. Do whatever you can do in your world to do it right and do it well, whatever you're comfortable with. So those are my musings from my vehicle, driving along 494 today. Thanks for listening. Peace out.